Hi guys, how are you?
Hey, can you hear and see us now?
I hear and slowly see you. I see you on one screen.
Dude, you gotta.
Right now, I'm just shutting off the.
You gotta get a better. You gotta get rid of that dial-up modem.
I don't think it's bandwidth. I'm willing to bet you it's processor.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think it's up to it. I'm just going to kill it off and leave the live for now. Let the other ones not go for it. Yes, I want to leave this site. We'll leave that site. All right.
Task Manager in Windows and go look at that processor utilization.
Yeah, go look at what's chewing your processors.
I think right now there's smoke coming in the back of my MacBook Pro. I had 4 active live broadcasts going on with Restream, Facebook, Pinterest, Periscope, and everything else. So it was definitely a challenged experience for it. The art of moving. So, hey guys, how was everything? Thank you for being on show 103. Yay.
Yeah.
Yay.
So, Lauren, what you've learned is if you have a quad-core processor, you shouldn't have 5 live streams going on at the same time. So.
4 only. 4 only.
Words of wisdom to live by for it. Hey, Robert, first off, thank you for giving me a whole boatload of topics because I had a few of them that I thought were kind of fun, but the ones you sent over were interestingly fantastic. Except for, I'm curious the way. Go ahead.
Except for which?
Tamborine giving away a Kureg.
Oh, no.
You guys didn't know that? They've done that forever. It's actually been super effective for them.
Really?
Yep.
Yeah.
That's very interesting.
Who was it that used to give Apple TVs away? They send you the remote, and if you do a live demo, they give you the TV to go with the remote.
Dang.
Oh, where do they get all the remotes? Are these like refurbished remotes? Are they walk
Probably
into stores and grab them off of the counter and run? I don't know. So.
Well, I think the remotes were only like $9. This is the older TVs. They're not. I don't know what they're doing with the new ones now, but the older TVs. I mean, the remotes themselves, the infrared remotes, were only like $9 or something eventually. So they decided to do that. It was kind of a neat trick. I thought it was kind of nice. I mean, I used to do iPod touches whenever I do a proposal. I'd send it in an iPod touch, and so they couldn't take the proposal away and hack it. They could only watch it on the iPod touch. It was the only program that was loaded on it unless I sent in the unlock key.
Actually, I thought the most interesting article, and I can post it here. I was thinking we could start a new part of the show since we've got digital marketing guys and tech platform guys and consultants and things like that. Was this creepy clown? It would be, what would you do for this hotel?
So the creepy clown one. Yeah,
the creepy clown.
So
Ed, I know Ed's interested in this, so he's thinking, okay, you buy this for $3-4 million, but the caveat is you have to keep the clowns.
I think so. I mean,
yeah, I think so. You embrace your unique differentiator, right?
Yeah. Yep. So,
Mr. Ed, did you end up coordinating with Mr. Tim Peter about his adventures at Kennedy Space Center, or
he waited till Wednesday to say, yeah, I'll go with you on Thursday. So,
okay,
my calendar was full at that point because I wasn't holding my breath. So I figured he had other plans, and then he reached out to me on Wednesday, like, "Hey, dude, don't know if you still have availability." I'm like, "Nope. Sorry, 9 appointments showed up into that open day that I left."
My theory is I'm putting 2 and 2 together. I've got my timpeter.com wall. You can't see it here, and it has all the pictures and newspaper clippings and the little yarn connecting the dots. But he's at the Kennedy Space Center. Elon Musk is launching SpaceX, his Falcon Heavy later in the. I think Tim's involved with that, obviously. So
or
Tim's involved with
if it's today, you could also I don't know if you were sharp enough to know my daughter's there today on a field trip.
Oh, so Tim's probably leading the field trip about what's going on at Kennedy Space.
Right, exactly.
Exactly. So I think timpeter.com is powering SpaceX, I'm pretty sure, as well as Tesla. So
right, of course.
That's what I've heard.
Of course. So the creepy clown thing, I just want to say they'd be foolish to get rid of the creepy clowns.
Yeah,
it's a motel.
Right.
So unless you're tearing down the buildings, like you'd be a fool to get rid of it, especially because it went viral. Like this isn't just news coverage. Like I actually saw a picture of the creepy clown motel a few months ago from one of my friends from another country who was saying that this is where he was staying when he was here.
Yep.
So.
And you've got to love the sign. The sign, but not just the sign. I mean, okay, so you got the Clown Motel. It certainly establishes positioning. None of this, you don't know what a such and such. You don't know what a Moxie Hotel is. You know what this is.
Yeah.
Then it has the no vacancy sign right there in neon. So they have rooms. You don't have to.
No, I mean, listen, marketing 101.
Yeah.
It's done right.
They've
3,000, and that's how they're getting $3,950 plus tax for clean rooms with pets and Dish TV.
Pets are okay and Dish TV. I mean, those are key selling propositions. Okay, they lost the little decimal point thing on their sign, right? That's a problem with having those signs. If one of those blows away in a windstorm, so.
Yeah. And honestly, I think the clowns like make this more like we would never be talking about this hotel.
Absolutely.
If it wasn't for the creepy clowns.
Right. And I do have a very good friend who is horrified of clowns. I mean, just hates. And I did one of the worst little pranks I've ever done to a coworker because she was gone on vacation for a week. And, she came back. She had pictures of her family all over, over her office and everything. And I cut out little pictures of clowns and put them over, the faces of her family in her office. That wasn't good. So she didn't like that at all. That really did freak her out.
Yeah.
She really does not like clowns. So yeah. Anyway, but hey, years of therapy. She's doing fine.
I love it.
Hey, so one of the few things I had contributed to the list of happiness was.
By the way, first of all, Holly, you need to join the show.
Yes, Holly.
Because I have questions about your full stack engineering plans.
Yeah, we have a few questions on that. But she said she was on vacay. So I don't know if she's listening audio or not at all and totally not joining us today. But she's on vacation right now.
This show is perfect for vacationing people. That's a new sub-segment market that we're really.
I'm getting ready to leave on vacation right now.
That's right.
Hence my vacation.
For Holly Zova with Signature Worldwide is deliberating whether to take on a full 6-month, 30-hour-a-week coders course, which will make her she's already way smarter than us anyway. So even more smarter than us, even more better.
Mo better at forming sentences.
Mo better at, because she's already brilliant at what she does. But the idea of this whole having to know code, because it kind of brings up other questions too, is like, coding being offered to kindergarten kids and stuff. I mean,
it's awesome.
You're getting into this realm where you have to know these things.
Yep. My daughter's in kindergarten. Well, she's going into first grade, but what they're teaching, what's actually interesting is they're not teaching like the how-to. They're actually teaching the fundamentals of how to think.
The logic. Yeah.
Right. That's the key.
That's so important.
Yep.
And that's the critical component to actually, not to go real esoteric, but that's kind of the whole rationale in this digital marketing concept is that it's not so much, the actual working how it works as it is what it can work for. You connect the functionalities to the result process, and it's not so much I know how to go in there and build XYZ multivariant campaigns with keyword blocks and all this other stuff. It's out there and you know what you should use it for, and then manipulate that into your concepts. So,
and that's why I always call the question into anyone who says things like, this type of advertising doesn't work.
Yeah.
Is it the architecture or is it what you did that led you to believe that?
Yeah.
And then
you
also
hear that a lot. You hear that a lot in like certain types of social advertising where you hear people saying like, I tried the Facebook ads. They don't work. And it's like, yes, they do. What you did didn't work.
Yeah.
And if you don't understand what part of it didn't work, that also means you probably didn't try too hard.
Yeah. Well, and not all ads. Not all ad media are best suited for the Clown Motel should not be taking out Super Bowl ads, I am guessing. So that's But yeah, I mean, if
Oh,
it's
yeah.
executed well, and then I think the other thing with coding is people learn to code, and then they feel, oh, well, I know everything about it, so I'm going to go write. So, and there's a little bit more involved in terms of optimizing certain things, especially if things start to grow.
I've had some very blunt
Yeah.
conversations with coders that I say flat out, just because a mechanic knows how the car is built doesn't mean they know how to work with it. That's a different skill set. So to know one thing, you don't know, you know things with it. So
yeah, you can do really well. Actually, that may bring up a point that Lauren had. One of the things on Ethereum getting well, actually, Ethereum and the blockchain not getting hacked, but the basically the wallets of of these Ethereum wallets, which have a lot of value, $31 million in value, getting hacked.
And that
but
was after the white hackers, the good guys, ethically stole $150 million out of the at-risk account, at-risk wallets to stop whoever got the 31 million from getting it all.
Right.
Yeah, it's like a replay of National Treasure movie, you know?
Right.
They can't steal it. We got to steal it first.
But here's the thing, and this is an important thing to think through. Like, so blockchain itself isn't enough to stop hackers. The entire ecosystem has to be secure, or you're just having them move somewhere else. So instead of trying to hack you at the transaction, now they're hacking you at a resting point. Which in this case was the wallets. And that's actually happened quite a bit in blockchain, where wallets have been wiped out. And some of the other blockchain networks, if your wallet gets wiped out, you're never getting it back because they have no way. Yeah, they have no way of knowing if it was really there or not.
Yeah,
too secure, some would say, and there is such thing as too secure.
Oh yeah, or people lose their their passwords or whatever the case may be, and you're done. I mean, it's gone, sort of thing. So yeah, it's a crazy.
Again, it goes back to the maturity of the capability of the software. We're still using it as it's coming out and emerging, and these things are beginning to get played out. That okay, we made this very secure, and this system seems to be great, but there's still a way. It's just like anything, whoever built it can also figure a way to crack it, and they found out the weakness in the wallets. But I just thought it was really like that here the white hat guys. It wasn't the 30 million that got lost. It was the 150 million that got white hat hacked to be saved so they could be given back to the original owners ahead of the hackers.
Which is hilarious because that means it wasn't all that difficult to hack these wallets if 181 million was grabbed that quickly.
Right. Well, the white hat guys figured out the exploit really quick, right? Yeah. That's number one. Number two, the hacker who initially did this apparently was doing it manually. And so the white hat hackers used scripts, right? So they came in and went, we figured out what's happening, wrote a script real quick, ran it through and managed to save, the vast majority of it. If the original hacker...
They're still underway on transferring that money to the rightful owners.
Oh yeah, I know. Oh yeah. If one of those guys, just imagine if those white hat guys went, look at that. We can get 150 million and split it between us. Yeah, then you got a really bad situation.
And disappear into the ether.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Literally. With the ether into the ether.
No, that's my little catchphrase. 31 million of ether went up in the ether. It's like, I like ether better than Bitcoin. Bitcoin gets all the publicity, but ether in its capabilities is much broader in its application value than Bitcoin is. Well, Bitcoin is pretty much committed to currency only.
Yeah, but again, Bitcoin was closer to the core blockchain. So Ethereum comes out and does a lot of different things. And what the weak point on this was the virtual contracts, right? So the digital contract, which basically that's where they found the weakness, which then connected it to the wallets. But the one thing that saved it, though, this original hacker who got the 31 million was doing it manually. If that person had run a script on the thing, I don't think they would have. They wouldn't have been able to catch it. It would have been gone.
They've been gone before they realized it.
And not FDIC insured.
Nope.
Right. So Holly, when you take your course, make sure you don't skip the lecture on scripts. That's very important.
You'll want to learn a lot about Perl, because Perl, that's the scripting language, my friend.
Yeah.
That's where you can emulate millions and millions of people on a very small machine.
Yeah. So the challenge of the blockchain, very secure, does amazing things, is not ready for transaction process. You hear now
Some would say the chain is only as strong as its weakest link.
That would be a very good statement. Except it wasn't really the chain; it was out on the side of the chain.
The chain was attached to something poorly.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, it's like having a really good boat anchor with a really good chain, and it rips off whatever part of the boat.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but the real challenge is, like, you hear these guys going, "Oh, we're going to go do the blockchain. It's going to handle transaction process." These things, blockchain's handling 7-8 transactions a second. When you go and employ something like this, that's not going to cut it for a lot of, a vast majority of these things, because again, you need to get all these blocks, and they need to be processed, and they need to be mined, and it's not kind of at this scale. So the more, yes, it will eventually get there, and they're trying to speed it up, but that's where you start running into problems, because people are going to start caching transactions or doing something over here or something. We're going to bolt this on that's going to speed this up and make it, and that's where you run into the
there's no such thing as 100% secure.
Right.
No, there is, and then the other thing goes back to a conversation we keep going over and over as these things present themselves. When the whole buzz on high tech about blockchain, and then was it all hype and misconfusion, is this shiny object mentality. This is advanced conversations for large scale players. These are thought processes that are only in the infancy of
with foundational understanding of the processes and the design and all of that. This is not lighthearted. This isn't, going into like a framework or, something light like that where you can read a book and get it.
Right. Well, and on this,
even with the explanations in these articles, even if you look at this article that's attached to this one, and let me put it up again. There you have it. It's still a complicated explanation, because you have to understand the predications of how it even works before you understand what was being done versus what eventually happened. I mean, it's no easy read.
No, and the key was it went through kind of a best practice debugging process. I mean, it went through a lot of people and peer review and the whole thing. I mean, this was not something that was just tossed up there yesterday by a bunch of idiots. I mean, it went through, and they missed something. That's it. It's new, and they missed it. And and you can almost say, hey, you know what? This is kind of a good situation.
This is how prisoners break out of supermax prisons. If someone wants something bad enough and spends enough time focusing on it, they will figure out how to undo something that another human built.
Right.
Or what was it? They just were showing the prisoners with their own cell phones videoing their escape. They released that after, what was it, last year? Those 3 guys went over and videoed themselves escaping from the secure prison. It's like, okay. Why'd they even have a phone to begin with? How'd that work out?
But again, if you're going to get out of the prison, I mean, the first guy who figured out the laundry carts go in and out or whatever, that's how they did. They didn't start going, well, let's tunnel through the wall of the prison, because that's, obviously what they built the prison for. And that's kind of like the blockchain. You, as Ed said, you find the weakest link, and it's going to be something that bolts onto it. Which again, the target hack was, which I can't remember, was
HVAC system.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, but a lot of these things came in. They got into the cache register. It was a back door for kind of maintenance and things like that. And somebody exploited this thing. Because they made it easy. Oh, you don't need to have this password, and single sign-in sort of things are.
I know this doesn't sound
huge
correct.
Opportunities to get into places you have no business, being.
But it goes back to the old statement, and it probably doesn't sound politically correct, but if you put an infinite amount of monkeys in an infinitely sized room, eventually they'll build a nuclear bomb. Well, if you have plenty of time on your hands and you get to watch every little detail on and on and on, you'll eventually figure out what people think are foolproof. I mean, eventually, odds are, by just sheer will alone, statistics to Ed's point, they're going to figure out these kind of things. And blockchain is no different. Neither is super encryptions. Somebody had to build, like you said, some human built something, and some other human can figure out how to disassemble it in some capacity.
Yeah, but they won't go bust the super encryption sort of thing, because that was, that's the part. They'll figure out what's right next to it, where, hey, they've got to get the money out of an ATM. Well, gee, why don't we just go there? Or whatever, let's go hit it on some other weaker point that isn't super reinforced. It's like people, and I think a lot of these systems, another thing is, the Sabre hack, right? Which just keeps
coming up with that stuff. Yes.
Yep. Here, I'll
and I've now heard it's created some real complexity. So there's situations where third parties, customers, were part of this hack. And so now the problem is the hotels trying to fulfill their legal responsibility to notify and all of that. Are going to the third party saying, hey, we need this list of contact information to fulfill our legal duty. And the third parties are saying, like, well, just send us the notice. We'll forward it on. But the hotel then has no proof that was done correctly or anything like that. Like, this is a very complicated scenario.
Oh yeah, they've got 32,000 properties on this, and I think we said a week or two ago. Very unlikely. Yes, Wyndham was not impacted because that is in like a separate partition. But everybody who's in Sabre's partition there, and I'm not sure how many. It's maybe I don't know. The 32,000 may include Wyndham. Hard to say. But let's say 25,000.
I have to imagine it does.
Yeah. So let's say 25,000 though. And again, two roads, which has, here's Joie de Vivre, Thompson, Destination Resort, just kind of going along. They have enough challenges trying to merge together these three chains and then all of a sudden your reservation provider, who's a very large firm that does a lot of stuff and has been in the tech business for an extended amount of time, which has very, very strict processes for going through, code releases. Been there, done that. Boom. Yeah. Not good.
No. It's tough. Again, and honestly, I feel bad for Sabre. Like, what a nightmare situation. It makes my stomach turn to think.
Yeah.
Like, when they found that. Oh
yeah. Well, and then there's the other, I have no idea if this is related or not, but now Sabre Hospitality Solutions has a new president, right? So Alex Alt is out. I don't
He's
know.
out completely?
Yeah. They said he's going to a different company. But they didn't say what, and there hasn't been any announcement or anything, so I don't know. So, is it related or not? I got to think, maybe. I mean, where's the buck stop on something like that, where that's, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see the lawsuits that result from all of these various things. And I mean, it's a lot of hotel, not huge hotel companies, but I mean, when you start looking across
you say that some of these clusters are probably hundreds of millions of dollars a year, though.
Oh yeah,
in revenue. So I mean, that's a big company. That's not a little company.
Oh no, 25,000 properties. You've got all the preferred hotels on there. You've got leading now. Again, I'm not sure leading hotels of the world may have still been on. I think they got everybody on listen. Yeah, but I don't know.
I think everyone's been ported.
I thought everybody was migrated over, but maybe some lucky ones who were lagging. They're like, being slow and unable to do the migration. Yeah, we saved ourselves. But again, that's a lot of high-end independent hotels. You got all the Four Seasons, you got all the Trump, you got all the Joie de Vivre. I mean, they've got a lot of stuff. Just amazing. So I sort of feel bad for them, but again, a lot of these third-party providers, you've got to provide best in class service. If you're going to be supporting 25,000 hotels, it's not And again, I'll tell the story. When I was at Sabre, I had to go through all the Y2K stuff, which everybody's like, "Oh, this is awful." And let me tell you, we found a bug in the system from the core code that they acquired from United Airlines in 1984, where that system would have shut off 9 months before, 2000, because somebody did the actual problem that was with it. But they set, I don't know, they set, day zero to their grandmother's birth date or so. I have no idea what they did, but it ran out of bits to manage the date before having to roll over, start over, do, stop, whatever, in something like April of 1999. And we found that. And the number of people who were pressuring me, because I had to go through and, sign off on this stuff. I wasn't checking it. I was checking with the guys who were down at the bottom of the list who really looked at the code.
You have to, because, I mean,
no. Across that organization, other people were doing that. A bunch of other people weren't, though. I know the car group did not at all.
Wow.
They just signed it. Well, yeah, these guys are good. It's like, you don't even know. There were literally, like, below me, 6-7 levels of signatures. And you're just sitting there going, yikes. And again, we just had a group of really, anal retentive people in our product area, which were great, because we had Linda Kent was my product manager. She's fantastic. We had Robin Pierce, who's been around with Pegasus, things like, these guys, these were all-star classic. There were, every I was dotted, every T was crossed. They went through the,
every day was thought through. It didn't just end at the Mayan calendar.
Exactly. No, but they would. I mean, and you'd see these ridiculous impact matrices in Sabre, and you're like, we are upgrading some little stupid hotel thing over here, which has nothing to do with anything, right? I mean, just we're using a couple bits over here to be a little switch that says they have pets or not. But you would have to go through, did this impact airline passenger service system, check in at the airport?
When you're a monster of a platform, that's what you end up having to do.
We found stuff in there, and we fixed it, which sped stuff
but
up.
That's also where, that's why new design you don't design monoliths anymore.
Right. Oh, yeah, because we found, again, that code, every time you search for a hotel, and the problem with Sabre's hotel program in the GDS was it was really resource intensive, and it was a small line of business compared to air. Well, we found every time we did a hotel search, it looked for the nearest airport. Which was like, what? And we weren't using anything for it. I mean, it had nothing to do with but that's what was going on way back. It was using all these cycles and things like, and we cut that off and saved, a massive amount of, but again, nobody had ever really found stuff like that. And we were just kind of digging through going, what's, yank on this, what's at the other end? Sort of stuff, and trying to make our things better. We're trying to reduce late.
It really makes you wonder, like, what Marriott goes through trying to keep Marcia, like, working.
The patches.
I mean, when you're talking about super old technology, and not just the age and that technology's better at things. It's also just the amount of fingerprints in that code base. Over the years.
Mm-hmm. And now TPF programmers who know how that stuff even works. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, there was we're going way back, but Eco, which was a was the dominant property management system in the early 80s. The system stopped within 3 years because the fellow who wrote the reservation handler, which was one of the cores of the system, one was like room status, right? Occupied, vacant, dirty, clean was one pillar, and the res handler was the other. He passed away at 45, unanticipated. Nobody knew how it worked. I mean, there was documentation and everything, but there was never another upgrade of it. And 3 years later, that company was gone. I mean, Sheraton at that time Four Seasons used all, ecosystems were it. Front office and back office, they're gone.
Wow.
And, but again, with this TPF stuff, if you're a TPF programmer, you can make big money doing stuff, knowing how the stuff, from 40
doing
years
stuff
ago.
that used to not pay well.
Right.
I mean, that's quite honestly it.
The COBOL and Fortran guys are in the same
Fortran,
book.
or RPG too. Yeah, back then. Hey, just out of curiosity, I'm probably more cynical than I usually am, because this past week I've been knee deep in audits and doing audits, and it just
Tell us, what have you found? This is always fun.
God. It's always fun. I try to be optimistic. I try to be optimistic about these things. Doing audits just reinforces our process inefficiencies in our industry, because you basically get sold what you're interested in, whether it's valuable to you or not. I see these goal sets and event sets in analytics that are set up that are less than useless. I mean,
well, because
they're
so what do you want? Oh, I want more site visitors. Okay.
Yeah.
And then
we're going to Fiverr.
Oh, I want ones that go over to like 6 pages. Okay. I mean,
just amazingly erroneous data aggregation.
And that's the problem. There's a lot of vendors in the travel space, and I only can talk to the travel space. I'm sure this exists in every industry, but there are so many vendors that just will give you what you want.
Yep. Yep.
Not what you need.
Nope. Not what you need. And that's the key element to that, is that, there needs to be this transparency, truth in service in some way. There has to be a branded term of an organization that can say, look, these people qualify for this level of whatever. And there never will be, I guess. There should be. It's too late to make it. Maybe.
No, because here's the other thing. Like some of it you look at. Some of this you look at and you want to really just judge the vendor. But being a vendor, I can tell you, it's not an easy path giving hotels what they need. Because a lot of times you're met with I only want this. And it's like,
right.
Here's why that's not right. I don't care. My boss says I need to have this. This is this.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. And so the problem is,
I can't pay for the rest, or.
Oh, no. Unfortunately, in a lot of cases, it's not even like you're not even in the same field. Like they're off running in daisy fields with imagination where you're, like doing business. And it happens a ton, and it's frustrating as a vendor, but it's also, this is what you chose. And so giving in and just giving hotels what they want is just wrong, and it's a short-term strategy.
Yeah, it is a short-term, because eventually they will get disillusioned. Yeah. What's that? I'm sorry, Robert?
No, there's a lot of pressure on these biz dev folks to just do that close sale. Hey, we're ramping up to the next round, and we told the A series investors we were going to get to 1,000 installed base by this. And
so do what it takes.
And they'll have clauses in there where, people are either missing bonuses or God knows, whatever, incentives, all these things. And it's just like, make it happen. We don't care. We will clean up after the parade, once we get there.
The problem is it doesn't often get cleaned up.
Oh, no.
You get left with, but to the credit of Google, again, as brilliant as they are on so many things, I mean, is their Google Tag Manager has truly gotten to be really user-friendly. It used to be, there was a couple of defined tag designations. For those who don't know what Google Tag Manager is an aggregate ability for you to do your tracking codes in a one source. To your website and adding and creating load issues and time speed issues and everything else. It's one source so you can put all your pixels and tracking and whatever else you want in there. And before, you used to have to kind of know your stuff. You had to know how to place your pixel in and create the generated tag capability. Now, there's so much WYSIWYG in there that you have such a choice of interface tags that are already created in it. It almost is easier than doing it the old way for a lot of stuff that you never even knew you could do. I mean, there's still data layering that you can do and stuff, but the things that you can do, the things you can track, which I think is going to, the frustration I feel is that it's going to create a whole new level of bullshit goal sets, because now vendors are going to offer them more these cutesy things. Like, I can tell you if people push this red button versus the blue button, and they're going to say, yeah, I need to know that for what I don't know. And they're going to get all this crappy information again. And again, it's going to go back to, because right now the audits that I'm doing, the reason why I'm so cynical, are covert audits. These are audits that the people do not want their vendors or their service providers to know or be. done to evaluate them, which means inherently a lack of trust of what's getting produced. And it's amazing that, it's different when you're doing an overt one because it's a collaboration show, work environment. Hey, positives. We saw this. Yeah, we recognize that. Well, this is what we're doing. And it's a lot more positive. A lot of times there's these covert ones that you get in there. It's because they created this artificial scenario of success. They gave or placated their requests, created bullshit goal sets and event trackings. And then they're left with this hollow shell irrelevant data source, and now they're lost as to whether they're getting what they originally paid for. So they call someone like me in to come in there and say, what the hell's going on with this stuff? Tell me what needs to get done, kind of thing. And it's just weird because you get real cynical about this because you wonder why they did such crazy stupid things, in the tracking world. So yeah, so I'm Mr. Cynical this week. That and I was bashing on light and fluffy marketing today, where people go over and our oversized room with grand vista view, and I'm like, what are those words? What are those words? What the hell is oversized, and what is it in the context?
Oversized compared to what?
Yeah, what?
That's why they chose the word.
Yeah, I mean, because in content gen, because nowadays and it goes back to something we constantly harbor on: efficiencies with fundamentals. Put good, relevant, usable content in front of people, and it's going to get used for what you intended. You put this
relevant that serves the consumer.
Yeah, focus on why it's being done, not what you think they want to. And that's, like I said, my cynicism is going into the show today. I apologize. This past week has been one of these. What is this crap on this page? What is this crap event tracking you're doing? What is this even here for?
Have you, speaking of that, have you ever poked at, Tim has dropped these little mentions every now and then of this stealth startup that he's doing that's in the AI and machine learning space?
No, I remember him.
Have you ever asked him to take you through it?
No, he hinted at some stuff. He talked about enterprise level algorithms that were, because when I did the SEO calculator thing, he was talking about how they do it at enterprise level.
Listen, I finally just one day after he was dropping hints, I picked up on it and I just called him and said, I think you're doing this, and if you're doing that, I want Flip2 to talk to your startup because we're doing something that works nicely with that and could probably help you. And so we've explored what it is they're doing. It's really freaking cool.
Awesome.
And it was what I thought. It was exactly what I thought it was, and it's really interesting. So
that's neat.
And they don't want to do anything in travel.
There are a lot of people who do that. They look at travel and it's just way too messy because they go, this really works at the property. I'm working with an investment group out of Japan that's looking for investment opportunities, right? And they are looking at certain aspects of it and going, no, we don't want any part to do it. It's just too messed up. And the business, they said, we don't care if it's the best technology you've ever seen. We do not want to be in that sector at all. Yeah, they've sniffed around it before.
And I got to be honest with you, from an investment standpoint, if you're looking for investment type returns, if it's not consumer facing in travel, it's really hard to justify.
Yep.
The growth is hard.
The B2B stuff,
growth is hard. It really is. But on the other end, retention isn't.
Right.
It's amazing how many technologies exist that haven't been touched, just haven't been updated, improved, modernized, and still have a pretty respectable client base because at one point they were in growth mode and now they're in ride the wave. It's.
I spoke with someone. Actually, it was at I guess it was the Rock conference, who said they found there's a hotel that's running stuff on VisiCalc still. And
what?
Just they're on VisiCalc, and it was. Oh no, I take that back. Lotus 123. Sorry.
What?
Next generation. Yeah, that's after
VisiCalc. Still ran.
Yeah, how does that even
You
function?
got a DOS. So I'm like, was it on NXT or something? Go, no, it was on newer technology that emulated Next. That's one thing. Microsoft did have some backward compatibility.
Yeah, I mean, I still talk about it was in 2003. I went into a new build Country Inn and Suites. And met with the GM and the director of sales. So this was probably a $6 million total cost property between the land and the building and all of that. And they just opened like months before. And as I walk by the GM's office, and this is 2003, the GM's handwriting in the general ledger.
Wow.
Oh, wait. And as I go into the director of sales' office, on her desk is a Packard Bell 486 running Windows 3.1 and a dot matrix printer. This was in 2003. So that would make that computer
20 years old at that point. Yeah.
2003, no, it would be
Windows
12.
Windows 3.1. Yeah, okay.
12 years.
So that was getting a
12 years old. Yeah. But even then, like, you know, you're talking about a computer that's like less powerful than a phone.
Right.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, these guys had all their stuff. Go ahead.
Well, I think it goes back to the world that Holly's thinking about getting into, and that is you have tech people that have their favorite processes. It's like the thing you learned on is the thing you're most familiar with. I remember the company I left, before I left, they were still having a Server 2000.
Good tech people have realized you cannot do that. Like,
right.
You know a good tech person because that person not only knows what they're on, they know about everything else too.
Yes. And what you need to be on.
Just for their own survival. Like the day you stop learning as a tech person, like is the day you start, lessening your options of employment.
Yeah, right. You can't. You have to always be moving forward. But to my point is like back then, even in 2011, 12, they still had a pet 2000 server that they used for stuff because it was simple and easy in their mind. And I'm sitting there going, first off, it's open hack and everything else. But like, look, what brought up the thought process is we were looking at speed times for one of our clients' websites, and we started looking at HTTP2, to see whether or not that we can get speed load times up for it. And it can, but we have to move over to Microsoft 16 servers to do it, and reconfigure a lot more than what we were banking for the speed efficiency.
Why is their site so slow? Like,
it's still well. Actually, to be honest with you, it's WordPress, so certain plugins you cannot compress what they're doing.
Right.
And so it's a matter of getting replacement efficiencies on plugins and culling out plugins that are just not necessary. But the one plugin that we can't get around is the multi-language plugin. It's a beast of a plugin, but it is a massive contributor to total overall conversion traffic. So right now it's one we just can't work around. Well, so we thought if we did HTTP2 on it, we could speed the efficiency by doing a cache load anyway. But it just doesn't go in the direction we want to right now. It's just a little too much work for the very little effort. But here we're getting variances on speed.
And does that plugin go and add a whole bunch of other tables and other things which you just can't? Yeah.
Well, that's it.
You can't migrate to anything because you have no idea how all this stuff is.
You're rebuilding.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right. What eventually we're going to do in the long stream of it is we've already built a total second language site. We're going to build the third and the fourth, which are the top 85% of all multi-language needs for the client. And then we're going to dump the language variant program and just run with the multi-site linguistic key code. So that's where we're going to be going with it. But we're having problems now where our speed times went down, and now certain pages are back up again, like they're not caching correctly again. So we're chasing a little few ghosts here and there on some stuff too. So it's a never ending, but it is ultimately, the reason I'm bringing it up, it's ultimately a huge priority is speed load times. 2 seconds is massive in the world of, and if you're anything over 7 seconds, you're losing business.
Well, I think Amazon was the one that was attributing every extra second of load time was attributable to $150,000 loss in overall business.
Yeah, yeah, and what now we're looking to it too is, I'm a fan of WordPress at a certain, but rather than where they're going through, and I took this idea off of Hebs because I know that you said somebody else other than Hebs was doing this for a while, but the monthly cost factor for web replacement. They're doing, which I think is brilliant of them to be doing. But you said somebody else was doing it, didn't you? Somebody else.
That's Tamborine's model.
Tamborine's been doing it. That's right. I forgot. Oh, anyway, so I'm looking at it, and there's another variation that I'm putting into the 18 budgets for a couple of my clients, and that is because they're on platforms like WordPress, is not to reinvent the wheel, but to reskin it. Just reskin the model, because there's some things that just create deficiencies in templates now that you can just reskin, and it doesn't cost you near as much to do it.
Well, the problem is too, is like, use technology for what it's meant for. If you flex any technology to its edges, that's where you get speed issues. It's where you get scale issues and reliability issues. If you're a very complicated site with complicated needs, WordPress probably is not a really good idea.
Right.
Well, it depends on how you architect it, though, because that I really go back to the very core of it. I mean, if you can use between pages and posts in WordPress, and you start using those properly, yeah, you can do some pretty good things. But if you wind up organizing these things and you wind up having to pull out all sorts of things from 20 different posts to go build a page, you're going to crater, because you got crap.
And you're building a series of complexities that are just going to bite you at some point.
Right. Yeah. And all that stuff is happening and getting assembled on the page instead of on the platform. So.
Again, we had that conversation when acquisition came in. How could they leave Valhalla on the shelf? And the only rationale that I came up with was the fact that they're going to try to resell it back to everybody after they make everybody stay on Marcia.
Because I don't know. Or maybe they're just waiting to see what Amadeus does.
Right.
True. Yeah, actually, you know what? Can you explain a little bit more? Because I know a little bit about what Amadeus is doing, but I didn't understand the real correlation of it. What would be the big jump point for Amadeus for Marriott if that happened?
They're replacing Holodex, and Holodex is a TPF-based platform, right? So, which is the same as Marriott's TPF-based platform. Yep. I mean, there's different codes sitting on top of the technology, as is Sabre, as is WorldSpan, sort of thing. So, and they're looking at it going, okay, we're ripping this stuff out. And let me tell you, statute of limitations has got to be over. Back years ago, this is 10 years ago, a decade ago, I did some work for Intercontinental Hotel on requirements for their reservation system, right? They had over $100 million. They wanted to go do some stuff, right? So go in there, start working with them, because again, they were having these big problems with the requirements. Like, really? Okay. So I talked to the person who was the head of reservations at that time to go, okay, we got a whiteboard. Sky's the limit. You got $120 million. Tell me what you need. We'll build it from scratch. And the person said exactly what it does now. And I laughed. Right? So I go, hey, that's pretty fun. And he goes, dead serious. I mean, there was no, understanding. He goes, no. It needs to do what it does now. And they explained the situation. He said, I'll give you one use case. We have two hotels. I think it was in Munich or something like that. There's one on one side of the river, one on the other side, whatever the case may be. He goes, we always have people showing up at the wrong hotel. And it doesn't matter. We've tried everything on the website. It's being sold through travel agents. People are messing up, right? You go to south instead of north. Oops. But it's owned by two different owners. Right. And they have two different pricing structures. And this is a problem. And the city's busy. So when you get to hotel one, you go, we don't have your reservation, or we don't have your reservation. You're at the other hotel. Is there a way to, switch it? And somebody wrote some code that was like, yes. And it handled the accounting and what the difference was and they worked it out between the owner. But he goes, okay. When our last upgrade, that didn't get upgraded. And he goes, we had hundreds of thousands and all this stuff. It just broke. It didn't work. And it's just like, some stuff gets deprecated when you do these things. There was no way to fix this, right? You all of a sudden made a very common occurrence that happened.
Kind of feels easy to me. The answer to that is not a technology answer.
Change the
answer to that
change the brand
is to get one of the owners to go to a different flag, preferably the one that's getting a higher ADR.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, well, that wasn't in Intercontinental's interest because they couldn't go pop it up to an Intercontinental and they couldn't push the other one down to Holiday Inn Express.
They couldn't add like a V2 Plus.
Well, now I guess you could do. Yeah, but anyway,
that's why. Maybe that's it. Maybe so. We've been asking questions for like months, asking why do all these brands exist?
Yeah.
Maybe it's so they don't have to keep investing in technology.
Yeah.
It's easier to just change the business than it is to change the technology stack.
Yeah. But anyway, and this, he had to run the number of staff sort of thing because he has a central reservations thing, and it took forever because again the other hotels sold out or has is it 200 euros a night instead of 150, and the person's staying for a week or something. They go, well, I booked this, but I'm in the wrong spot, and how do I do this? And
when you talk about like this, it's kind of funny. And Ed, to your point, sometimes we look at it that we only look at the same tool to fix everything. A screwdriver has to fix everything, even if you needed a hammer instead. And I was reading at the library collection as a hotel group. I really think it's begun to come into its own in a lot of ways. It's always been there. It's been really good. They've had their really neat fixtures to it and so forth. And they're now expanding in Toronto, which brought it up to mind with Adele over there. And Adele has just gotten, at first I didn't agree with Adele. She was so pro TripAdvisor. Everything was TripAdvisor. Do everything TripAdvisor. And I was very anti TripAdvisor.
It was working for her though.
And it still does work for her in her hotels. But what I really got to see was it wasn't TripAdvisor. That's just the medium of what she's trying to do. It really about guests and focusing on guests. Because if you played that scenario to their hotels, they would have sent or got a car and drove the guests to the other hotel at their expense, apologized for confusion, but they want to make sure those people were happy. It wasn't directly their hotel that's going to get the benefit, but the people will remember the people that took care of them the next time they come into town.
Right.
The Adele is that person, I think, as I look at now what she's come more into. And we used to talk a lot more being on the digital council, and she's been so busy with all the hotel expansions and so forth that she doesn't have the time to be on the boards anymore. But what she does has been persistently consistent about that message. Mm-hmm. It is about the guest. It's about the hotel having cool stuff, not because it has cool stuff. It's because the guest gets to enjoy the hotel, right. And if their guest gets stuck on the other side of town, a staffer, without even having to ask a manager, will go get the guest and bring them over. Right. Why? Because it's their guest.
And see, that's the thing. Too many decisions are devoid of the purpose, and the purpose should always be: is what we're doing somehow making it about the guest,
right?
And you can just see that it's not. I mean, especially in digital. Digital, for some reason, people have lost their minds and have forgotten what everything's about. And they get so caught up in the what. Like, what is it? What does it do? How shiny is it? And they completely forget to ask the most important question, which is, does this serve the guest first?
Right. Well, and the different purposes the guests may have. I mean, are they just trying to figure out this really simple questions? Where's the hotel located? What makes your hotel different and special? I mean, what?
Well,
what
to be fair, you're talking so long ago that it probably would have even been weird. Like, because you think about that problem today, and it's like a pre-arrival email. Feels like a pre-arrival email fixes that problem of showing up at the wrong place.
Oh, yeah, maybe.
I mean, I'm sorry. Before you show up, super important to note, it is a common mistake that people show up at the wrong hotel in this city. Right. You're at this hotel, which is here. If you're doing public transportation, this is how you get there. If you're doing a taxi, tell the taxi driver this. Right. It's a pre-arrival email.
But these were predominantly through travel agents, though, too, who might not be, who knows if they're even the individual's actual emails making it to that person in corporate, which is, again, it's.
Well, okay.
But anyway, yes, there are a number of ways they could just do it with a little sheet of paper going, great, here's the process we do between this and this. The hotel calls the other person. They go, we got a code green. We do it, and they work it out at the end of the month.
Yeah,
right?
But anyways, back to what Lauren's saying, like the library collection, it's because they understand it's about the guest.
Right.
It's about making everything about the guest and what the guest wants.
The good hotel.
I'm still wondering, like, what guests really, really, really want the iPod compatible alarm clock?
Right.
versus just an extra outlet. I just
Right.
Have you ever
Yeah.
like even thought about wanting to plug your phone like into one of those things?
Actually, that was one thing that stunned me at High Tech, which I didn't bring up at the when we had the little High Tech recap, was the number of people who were still selling like alarm clocks and all these different things for the hotel room. You're sitting there going, really?
I get the clock. Okay, I get the clock.
Yeah.
The clock
these
makes sense.
These are more like plug in with this and do this.
I don't get the radio aspect of it at all. And I don't get every other bell and whistle they've bolted to the simple clock. Is someone asking in that purchase cycle, what does our guest want?
Right.
Like,
yeah.
Is there a large amount of guests who want to play their music over slightly louder speakers than their device is capable of doing? Because that's the thing. It's slightly louder. And
that's why you see some of these newer brands which are doing a really good job. And yes, they're saying they're targeting millennials or whatever. Well, no.
No, they're targeting people who are sensitive to bullshit.
Right. They're sitting there going, what do you need? Oh, I need a well-lit work surface of a certain size because I got to do some stuff in the room and I don't want to sit on the bed, trying to do some stuff. And hey, you know what? I want to be able to see the TV so I can have the news or the game or whatever on in the background. Sort of, stuff like that, which is really, obvious design issues. And you still see these new ones where you just go, wow, it looks really cool and funky, and this thing does not work.
One of the most used things I do whenever I deal with any of the clients about the user experience in the process of just anything, like you're talking about, whether there's a power outlet on the side of the bed so you can plug your own thing in, or having a counter space so you can buy beside the bed, or workspace or whatever, but also it goes into the process of discovery and purchases. They get so fixated on their competitors. What competitor is using this? What competitor is using that? They're looking for technology to replace service levels rather than improve service levels. And very few processes themselves. One of the most revealing things that ever make them do is to literally say, here's my phone, not your phone. So it's not even comfortable, your phone. My phone, browser's open on your website. Go book a room. And let them stumble through the process of how many times, and they put a date in, but it doesn't fill the date window. They pick a selection, and now there's this scroll bar from hell of 25 special packages that you can't tell the difference from one to the other. And why even have that many? Because somebody kept saying stack them and rack them, whatever. And you go through this whole process, and you don't feel like you got the best deal. You don't think you get the best rate. You don't think you get the best room, or whatever it is. And at the end of it, you don't even get the right confirmation.
Right.
And it's like, that's the most revealing time for them. Just like, this is your problem. So you want to spend all this money getting all this traffic to your website. Your website is not doing you a favor. It's kicking your ass with bad service. Now go to Expedia. I learned that from you, Ed. Here, now go to Expedia. Now do it. Yeah, 3 clicks, you're done. It's like, there's the comparison. That's why you're losing to the OTAs right now.
Yep.
So,
no, listen, I don't know why enough people don't audit their own stuff. Like, I just don't get it. I don't get it at all. Like,
I think
it's not hard to do. I think there are lots of reasons. Our stuff.
Yeah, but I think in many cases the people either built it or were responsible for whatever, and they look at, if it isn't working right, it's a reflection on that. And some of these hotel owners or GMs or whatever, oh my God, I mean, coming out of these audits, people get fired and losing their job because the thing's crap. And it's like, well, yeah, they should have been doing it themselves, but who knows? I mean, I've seen hundreds of times where that's happened. Or in many cases, the GM wanted something and said, put this in here, and then it comes out in the audit. It's not good, and they won't listen to their own person who says, "No,
this example." So
an external person comes in and goes, "Hey, you really want to do this a different way," and they'll go, "Oh, okay," and they'll listen to that person and not the person.
There needs to be a feedback channel within organizations and systems that are legitimately listened to. And the case in point is one of my clients has kiosks in the lobby to help them do check-ins. And find out that, because it's in the confirmation email that you have a kiosk ID so that you can put your go up to the kiosk and speed in your check-in. Problem is finding this out, because we're having this conflict of guest satisfaction, is that half the time the kiosks don't work. Well, that's been a known entity for the 2 years that it's been in their lobby by the staff.
You're not working with the hotel I like to stay with in New York, are you?
No.
Because I've pointed it out to them every time I've stayed that their hotel is amazing.
Yeah.
But their check-in experience is the absolute worst check-in experience. And what makes it worse is while you're standing in the super long line, staring at a kiosk that says, don't stand in line, come here. Except the kiosk never works.
It never works.
And
it's probably the same system for the same client I have in the same market.
Yeah. So amongst all this talking, I'm going to share a link to a YouTube video that I think is fantastic. If we're talking about ways people should be thinking, this is a TEDx talk that Alex, the CEO of Benchmark, did about why you should always try to be better, and it's because no one else is.
Mm-hmm. that's a big advantage.
So the premise is the bar's so low that exceeding people's expectations is not hard. So you should always strive for it because it's not hard.
Yep.
And so he actually did a great job on it. I happened to see it, and I reached out to him because the low bar mentality, that's actually both my organization's customer focus is based on one idea, which is I want to be the best partner a hotel has. Not the best partner of a kind. I want to be better than their food vendors. I want to be better than whatever they're working with. Whoever's helping hotels do things, I want us to be the best at that. Mm-hmm. And we've always had that mentality. We had it at Easy Yield. It was our secret recipe at Easy Yield. Mm-hmm. Was our customer support was just far superior to everyone else's, and no one else ever figured out that that's why hotels were willing to pay us a lot more money for what we did than they were any other provider.
It's interesting you bring that up because I approach it differently, but for the same reason, and it is trust. I want to be the most trusted relationship you have, because I often get into problems with my clients because I'm too candid.
There's
a problem. You really should trust a lot of the people you are trusting. The trust is so misplaced in this industry, where hotels are don't trust certain people that they should trust, and then completely trust entities that they shouldn't.
The wrong ones completely. Yep. Yeah. No, and that's where I draw the line, because for me, I actually warn any of my new clients. It's look, I am probably going to piss you off. I intend to piss you off. I intend to tell you shit that you don't want to hear, because you're hiring what I know, not whether or not I can kiss your ass and say yes. And there's cheaper people that you can buy that are happy to say yes to you, and you're not going to get the answers you want. So I want you to trust that when I'm telling you something, whether you like it or don't like it, is because I am hoping you're knowing that I'm doing it out of the interest of answering your question as honestly as possible. And so,
and as lengthy as possible.
Yeah, and as long as possible. I will stretch the answer as long as I can.
I still don't think you should charge people by the word, Lauren. I just don't know.
Are you kidding me? That's my profit margin. That's my profit margin. They say, hey, look, it's only a nickel a word. And I'm like, yes, but it's going to be expensive.
Yep. And that's why in Lauren's sales process, it's all one-liners.
It's all one-liners.
And then as soon as he's in, it's like, oh, let me show you the latest novel that I've written.
Oh, yeah. I have that problem.
About this font you're using.
Somebody asked me for 3,000 word article. I gave them a 9,000 word article thinking I was doing them a favor. And they're like, no.
Which, by the way, in the future, when anything like that comes up, I could have told you before you did it that it would have had.
I should ask you,
because I knew the person you did it for. I could have told you, dude.
Yeah. Yes, I retooled it down to a 3,000 word. It still wasn't quite what they were looking for, but he was all right with it. I'm like, okay, well, I'll give you a freebie, something else somewhere along the line, I guess. But
take it down to 1,000. Take it down to 1,000, and I guarantee you, he loves it.
Right.
Yeah, I think I should shrink it down even farther. I tend to like the storylines a little longer winded, but I write like I talk. That's for sure. But anyway, so yes, and to that end, I also refer to the fact that Steve Jobs, he tried everything that they did to make sure that it did it better than he thinks it should, because you solve a complex problem in a very simple way. You can't do that if you're allowing somebody else to do it, and when you're the one that has the vision. And a lot of these owners, they think, oh, well, the website's producing business. Yeah, but it's like a leaky oil car. It may be running, but you're losing so much more money if you just did it right and better, you know?
Well, and the problem is who do you trust on what's right? And that's one of those things where I'm talking about misplaced trust. If I owned a hotel, do you want to know what my hotel website would look like? Expedia.
The clown motel.
Expedia.
Oh yeah, Expedia. Yeah, like Expedia. Yeah.
I don't understand why you would ever think that anything but a white background is going to work. Like, it's been all the highest volume web experiences in the world are a white background.
Yeah.
Like,
you know, it's funny you bring that up because let me ask you a question, because what I'm going through on different clients, smaller size hotel, is I am purging a tremendous amount of content pages out of their website, because at the end of the day, it's not any authoritative value over a more legitimate site offering the more relevant information than them basically copycatting the strategy.
Is the content right?
It's mostly right. It's not great.
See, that's the problem. If the content's not correct, you have to purge it. But if that content's correct, you may just want to put it where it makes sense to put it.
We're kind of going through the vetting now.
Just organize it. Yeah.
But one of the big criteria to it now is, does it contribute to your top traffic pages at the moment? Does it really contribute to the functionality of the pages that are driving your revenues?
It's the wrong
as
question.
a content connection to it or not? Huh?
It's the wrong question.
Okay, no, tell me that. That's what I'm asking.
Does it serve your guest?
Oh no. To that end,
that's the first question.
The pages that are serving the guest, does it serve those pages? It's probably maybe one step farther from it. Yeah, but it's the same mentality as, is it really contributing to the usefulness of what the site is based on what the guests are needing it for?
I love the fact that someone hired you to streamline their content, like to shorten their content.
It's like the antithesis of it all. It's like, take the person that adds content and tell them to skinny it up.
Yep, skinny it up.
But again, you want every page to serve that purpose. But then you've also got to look at the navigation of, where do they come from? Oh, are they coming from a landing page for, some sort of, email that was sent, or a retargeting campaign? How do these little paths work? And I mean,
user journeys.
You go through these hotels, and you're just like, wow, they did a third of it at the beginning, and then it just goes into just this generic, whatever.
Well, it's like, and actually, I keep forgetting to do it. We have a customer who's like just an amazing hotel, and I was looking at taking the family there, and I feel like I'm a pretty patient person when it comes to hotel tech. And on their booking engine, they had a very complex rate plan strategy. Which, okay, fine. You want to have a complex rate plan strategy, have a complex rate plan strategy. The problem with their booking process is, before you could even know if something was available, you had to pick a rate plan.
Oh, right. Oh, yeah.
Seven rate plans. So you put in a date, and then you picked a rate plan, but the rate plan was a shortened description with no explanation of its restrictions. Oh, and by the way, the rate plans had restrictions on length of stay, dates of stay,
or anything. Yeah, I had no idea.
The question should be is, when do you want to stay?
Right.
What's available?
Right.
Sell you on it after. But so I actually got to a point where at first I thought the hotel was sold out, because I was picking a rate plan that I thought sounded interesting.
Well, people do it all the time. AAA. They go, rate's not available, or whatever, or AARP, or because the hotel's kind of busy or something. And all of a sudden you start going, no, we don't have it. But the smarter ones will, have a little notification that goes,
other rates available.
What you look for wasn't available, but here's what we've got. But other ones just go, nope, not available.
Yep. And it's so but some of that stuff, I can tell you, and I still haven't had the conversation with them, but there's no way any of them went through and had their grandmother try to book that hotel.
Yeah.
And you got to do that.
And it's going to get worse with all these, new cancellation policies what the hotels are going to work. Yes, they've moved things to 48 hours, but I believe what they're going to wind up doing is they will still have one that, whatever, you pay a premium, and then you'll have the flexibility where you can, whatever, cancel, later or something like that, and you'll have all these various conditions, which again don't necessarily work out to, they'll make an assumption of we'll give you the lowest price, and you see a lead-in price, you go, wow, $136 a night. That's like, oh, it's prepaid. It's a minimum 2-night stay.
Prepaid, double deposit.
Yeah, it doesn't work on a non-cancelable, non-refundable, doesn't apply to weekends, and all this stuff, and you're like,
well, that's the thing. Like hotels that do that type of stuff, like eventually, because that's illegal.
Oh,
like
no,
doing
no,
that's illegal. Like,
well, no,
so
they'll
leading.
do lead-in. No, but they'll do lead-in prices that are available, sort of thing.
Yeah, but here's the thing. There's a funny thing called the Federal Trade Commission, which writes the way they feel on things. And lately, that group has started enjoying making examples of people who are not violating a law, but are also being shady. And so they've started just like throwing out warnings like, hey, there's no law on this. Here's our guidance on it. The point is this. And they're looking for companies who are violating those things because they want fair trade. They want transparency. Like, and the thing I don't understand, here's what I don't understand with resort fees. Okay. So with resort fees, what's the purpose of unbundling it? Like, I just don't understand. It's not a fee.
Oh, no, they're very good. They're crappy customer or consumer hostile reasons, but what they want to do is have a lower price in the sort order. It's drip pricing. I mean, it's an old thing. You look at it.
But that's the thing. It's an old thing. In the days of price transparency, and the consumers have more options today than we've ever had in history. And I feel like when you just do things that are not great business practices to try and get one over or get a leg up, sometimes you got to think through the negative aspect of that. And look at how many people are just absolutely refuse now to stay at hotels that have resort fees, just for the principle of it.
But when you have partners at PricewaterhouseCoopers who say you should do this because you're leaving all this money on the table, they do it. And you've got, hotel, certainly Las Vegas, it's spread to New York where there aren't resorts.
Listen, there were just more interesting ways.
The Super 8 in Orlando, down the road from you, has a resort fee. It may only be $4 or $5 or some little minimal amount, but it's just shaving that little. And I've done quite a bit of stuff with the Federal Trade Commission and some of the folks who are out there, and I think I've done my part to help kill these and provide them with use cases. The Federal Trade Commission has a problem because I think they have 5 governors or something like that. 3 of those positions are vacant.
Yeah,
and it's a problem.
Yep.
Yeah, it's being.
But my point is like
being able to do anything to provide any sort of a control. So
like my whole point is like there's other interesting ways to get money from people. I mean, Disney has created lots of ways to get money from people.
Oh, yes. They don't want to do
and
that.
They're willing to pay because of it.
This is easier,
and here's the thing.
and they don't care.
Shady I gotcha tax goes over like just really badly. Idiot tax goes over well. Yeah. Like when it's like, you know what, you got me. I'm gonna pay you $8 for this bottle of water because I don't want to go downstairs. Like I'm serious. Like in Vegas.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
I'll pay you $8 to drink water, so I don't have to walk the 1.5 miles inside your hotel to go buy a slightly cheaper bottle of water, or have to then get in a car and find a Walgreens to save a tiny bit more money. Like that side of things, I don't look at that.
But you do have people hauling. I mean, you've got to look at the overall share of wallet on this whole thing, because you've got people now hauling in cases of water and food
whenever
and all
I'm with
this
my family. I always
they're going
bring
to drop
cases of
all
water.
over the room. They're going to drop all over the room, and the juice is going to spill on the carpet, and all this crap, which all of a sudden increases your costs of cleaning and housekeeping and extends time and burns it. Hey, I already did mention Four Seasons for you, Ed, but
Yeah, we've already hit that bingo card.
but no, the Clift Hotel in San Francisco was the first one to put the nuts ajar. Stan Bromley, former Hyatt guy, came up with that idea. Charge $8 for some nut, and you had a little jar with a logo on it and things like that.
I just despise all that stuff.
So do I. But again,
to me, it's like I remember checking in on one place for a loyalty program, and I didn't expect anything. I bought the rate that was bought. Unfortunately, was surprised with a resort fee of nothing I was going to use. And they pop up this little water bottle with this little ribbon tied to it going, and thank you for being a loyal member. And I'm like, really?
Yeah.
Bottle of water. A bottle of water that's out of a flat of bottle of waters that probably costs $5 for the whole flat. And that's my reward for using my rewards for going with you, getting screwed with the resort fee that was buried that I didn't see. Thanks. I'm really, really loyal.
Good looking out. Good looking out.
Normally they'll say there's a resort fee that covers the bottle of water in the room. And
That's what it was.
Yeah. To me, it's like, I did see one creative way one time. Somebody went over and the resort fee was $20, and that was a credit applied to your account should you go to the restaurant. I thought that was not bad. I'm not a big fan. I still don't like resort fees, but I like the fact that, hey, we're going to give it back
not a resort
to
fee.
the restaurant. I'm like, okay.
That's a prepaid coupon.
Yeah, and I'm okay with that because likely it is. I'm going to hit breakfast. I wasn't happy that there was no freebie breakfast kind of thing, which is usually what I try to, doing the business travel thing, get up and not have to mess with breakfast. But the fact that they throw it at you for breakfast, I was okay with that.
Yeah.
And if it's $40 for a continental breakfast because it's a luxury hotel, you go, hey, I got $20 off. This is okay.
Yeah, so I'm okay with something.
It makes everything hurt far less.
But then it goes back to the question you keep saying, Ed. Does this serve the guest first? Hell no, it doesn't.
Right.
It doesn't do anything for the guest but do a piss me off. And to what you do, Ed, where you're developing a culture of awareness and appreciation and loyalty because of being centric on the guest, the hotel being centric on the guest, and getting that as a shared experience with their friends and so forth. You're absolutely the antithesis by doing this shit with resort fee. I'm not going to go to the fitness center. This body was not built in a fitness room, okay? And so to make me pay to go to a fitness room is not going to be a happy thought for me, And that kind of stuff, just because you don't want to have transparency to your rate that says, I'd much rather have my rate be $20 more knowing it's a choice to be made to stay in your location than it is to go be $20 less and still get
Well, and here's the thing. Ride waves. At least ride waves. Build the resort fee back into your price, and then plaster everywhere that you are. No resort fees, no hidden fees.
I'm with that with pet fees.
The devil.
I'm with that with pet fees.
Caesars tried that. Caesars tried that against MGM. They did a massive amount of research. They didn't want to do it, and the bottom line, because they had so much freaking debt, they went, the ROI on it.
I have the same strategy with the pet fee.
And they flipped, and they went, because the other guys were doing it, they factored it in, and the other guys were really big and dominant. Had more properties and all that. They went, we got it. We're going to play the game. Right.
One thing that I like about with pet fees, those pet owners that travel will find pet hotels and then sneak their pet in if they can to avoid the fee. Knowing that as if they're walking around with their pet, most of the staff won't know whether it's a paid for room or not paid for room. The only time you run into problems
when I used to rent apartments, I never paid the pet deposit.
Right.
Because no one's ever going to question you once you're past your move-in. Like, they're not coming in going, do you have pets? Mm-hmm. Not once did I pay the pet deposit. Because I already paid a deposit.
Right. And to that end, I much rather had it in this one hotel that I have as a client did this, which I thought was really cool, is there is no pet fee unless your pet does something bad in the room. And that's a condition of you signing into the room. It's like, look, if you have a pet, that's great. Bring your pet. Just let us know you have one. One, for the housekeepers if they're cleaning, that they have to consider that.
Right.
And two, if there is a damage to your room, we have the recourse to let you know that and charge you accordingly. That's all. Yep. Just like you would in a normal when you sign a room. If you trash a room, they're going to come back and make you pay for the TV you walked out the door with.
Yeah,
So
but it's
if you do
easier.
something like that,
But it's easier to just go. Here's a pet. I saw the when they can. Yeah, I know.
Right.
And people sneak it.
I like the groups. I like the hotels that are really smart, and there is no pet fee, but there's a ton of crap you can buy for your pet.
For your pet, right?
There's a lot more money in that.
Well, but
Give
the number
the pet a treat when they're at the front desk, and you have won the loyalty of that pet owner because you're taking care of Fido, man.
But the number of people who will book, whatever, 3 people, 2 adults and a child because children are free, so they can get 2 bit, and then they can get 4 people, and they don't wind up paying for the extra person fees and things like that. They're all, they're an endless number of things to kind of get around how the hotels charge you for these little, extra.
Well, sure, but then again, the recourse of that is they don't take care. They don't take care of the services they're charging for. AKA, say you do pay your pet deposit in your pet room in your pet hotel, and you go out to the pet walk, and it's full of dog crap because they don't clean it up. But you paid for to be at that freaking hotel for it. Then there's this counterculture to it. Just like any guest, where you're like, if I'm paying a resort fee, I got to go to the fitness room, and the fitness room is got sweaty, nasty crap, and it's dirty, and it's not taken care of. You're like, wait a minute, I had to pay for this access? There's always recourse. If you're going to charge, you better fulfill that charge requirement as well. Hey, I don't want to lose track of time, and I don't want one article that I thought actually has a long-term, this will be interesting to see what this morphs into, and that was the United's new reseller overbook program. That it's actually a unique way. I wouldn't say it's wow, super crazy, but it's a unique way of readdressing the overbook issues. That is a possible shift in concept to hotels, because we do have better earlier data access and better personalization identification. We're able to maybe, I don't think the same ramifications or methodology would fit into place, but this idea of knowing ahead of time when there is a oversell situation rolling out, that you either have, because we all have walk rates at hotels and so forth and distribution within market, to say, hey, we'll buy back your room at the low rate you got if you cannot necessarily stay that date, or I can get you that same rate or refund you X if I put you in a different hotel, and then be able to resell that room back at the higher yield rate you're able to attain because of the compression. I thought it was kind of a neat, the Volanto, I've not known anybody over there or nothing.
I don't know. I mean, first of all, it's obviously not United's idea. Someone at Volanto called United and said, hey, guys, the crap you're going through, have I got something for you?
I got a deal for you.
Yeah. And here's the thing. I actually think the process is interesting. Because I think about myself as a traveler, and depending on what kind of trip I'm on, if you give me enough notice, I'll change my travel.
Right.
But once I'm at the airport, no effing way am I changing my mind.
No.
Like, I'm going now. Like, it doesn't matter what you throw at me, because I'm on the path to going home, or I'm on my way to a meeting. But my flight's home. If you hit me and say, hey, I've got a flight in 1 hour from an hour after the flight you're currently scheduled for, if you take that, we'll give you $25. I'd be like, $25.
Right.
Yeah.
Because I'm not at the airport yet.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I mean, you're going to have people who are in a much different state of mind. But once I'm past security, I'm not going through it again.
But there are other people who will. Right. I mean,
I've only done it one time when I was going from my airport of origin, where I could go home, and it's like, you know what? I got $1,000 freaking voucher, AKA my wife can travel with me next time somewhere, because they were so desperate. They've actually, and this was before all the new changes of adding even more. They gave me $1,000 voucher. I could go the next day. I was booked in the class above, in business class, at a time that I could easily do it. It didn't mess up with my business travel plans. And I did walk out of the airport, get back into my own car, and drive back home and spend the night and drive again the next morning. But if I'm en route somewhere, to your point, Ed, if I'm in an airport that I don't have, I'm not at home or whatever, no, I'm in. I'm going through. Sorry, guys, I can't change. But this also goes to the hotel plan ideas. And this is a brand thought. I thought of a little follow through with this, that maybe a Marriott or a Hilton could adopt this, that if you are traveling within brand, and the brand that you're traveling to has a compression issue, that might know that they could resell out your room higher and offer you to say, hey, if you're flexible with your travel, if you want to, and this is maybe a collaboration need for airlines and everything else, is to say, we'll buy back your room at the rate you had. You get comped the room or heavily discounted the hotel for you to stay longer in, and then we can adjust your travel time to us in the future.
Here's the problem with that, and I'm going to tell you right now. It's a lack of execution of brand standard is what makes that impossible.
I'm not saying, well, I wouldn't say the word impossible, but near freaking impossible.
It makes it impossible for it to be about the guest.
Well,
so if you could say brand X hotel is the same hotel anywhere it is, then fine. But it's not.
No.
I have stayed in Hampton Inns that are nicer than Four Diamond Marriotts. I've stayed in Marriott, like full service Marriotts that should be Ritz-Carltons. I've stayed in DoubleTrees that are both ends of the spectrum, like either way too nice to be a DoubleTree or shouldn't even be a Days Inn. Like there's no brand I've been to where I've been to their properties and have been like, oh yeah, because even an old Hampton Inn, man, you can just tell Hampton Inn does not age well. They're amazing when they're new. And when they're within 10 years old, they're great hotels. Yeah. Anything older than 10 years, you know you're in an old original Hampton Inn. So even with that has a pretty strong brand standard because it's a pretty simple product. I don't think you could pull it off because in market, you may have two Hampton Inns, but they're two completely different hotels.
No, do not disagree. And there's a lot of logistics. So I think there's two key elements to the
too much logistics. There's too much logistics for a brand to take on. I mean, let's be honest. Let's just be honest on what brands should focus on.
Well, on different
because this isn't one of those things.
No, and this is all hypothetical about a solution in a totally different industry.
How about a brand that focuses on once you check out of one of their hotels, they try to find out where you're going to next rather than just hammering you with, here's a list of cities.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, like it blows my mind that brands don't do that. Oh, you just checked out of our hotel in Hawaii. Please think of us again when you're traveling. We'll help guide you on where you should go.
I always loved the roadside guy. I think it was Days Inn who always had like a little phone right in the lobby with a little map that have, because people were always kind of looking at the map for which way they were going.
Yep.
And then there was a phone and they had little dots on the map. So you go, oh, we're going to Tuscaloosa, you can call them, and they, the better ones had little buttons where you could call the people down. It'd auto dial the one that was 300, 500 miles down the road to go book the next night.
I'll even offer worse in the sense that within the brand, you could be going within brand to brand, and they don't even correlate that. Where if I'm leaving a Hilton in Atlanta and going to a Hilton in DC, this brand value proposition of saying, you know what, Mr. Gray, we've communicated. We see that you're staying with, in the checkout process in that program, other than Marcia, which can never do this, to say we've noticed that you're traveling to one of our sister properties in DC. We'll make sure that your special requests, or is there anything you'd like to ask for them when they get there? Do you need transportation from the airport? We can send that to your mobile phone so that you can communicate with the hotel directly. Whatever, any sort of continuation of the brand promise in that communication, but they don't even do that. So to your point, Ed, you're right. I mean, first off, they should take care of that kind of stuff before they ever worry about whether they can oversell and comp you out of a room or something. But just to say, in a possibility world, if like some things like trip pickup where you can do hourly rental to a hotel room, like a half day stay kind of stuff, if that stuff does catch into some mainstream, the possibility of doing, hey, if you don't stay with us now and delay it a day or delay the flight, we can have you do a later checkout at no cost to you, and we can replace you into another room at a different rate or something. There are some possible ends to this that could be helpful, but it really would take, to your point, a near impossible logistics solution for them to do it.
Well, yeah, I mean, actually, some guys I know actually wrote a patent and have it, a system and method for trading options in the marketplace, right? And it was for non-financial options, and it was designed for hotels. So, if you did have a non-cancel, non-refundable, you could wind up, basically paying a premium for flexibility and doing different things. But the problem with the hotels is the whole multi-management company, multi-owner scenario, which just kills it. If you own and manage all of these hotels across and you've got all that, then you got the flexibility. When it starts going between owners with different deals, it all it all falls, apart, because that owner may have, a Hyatt, a Radisson, a Sheraton, who knows, and they want you to stay in those properties, not with the brand, and it gets tough.
Yeah.
But eventually, though, I think certainly a big use case which has never been applied for packaging was the whole multi-destination itinerary, where and Expedia used to do this, and they removed it from their packaging functionality, where you could say, hey, I'm going to a place next, and they used to have some capability where you go, oh, well, how are you going to go from San Francisco to Los Angeles? And you could say, I'm driving. Do you need a rental car? I'm flying. Here's a flight. But, not used enough, kind of low utility. But I always thought a great opportunity would be, oh, well, if you're staying at the Westin in San Francisco, why shouldn't you stay at the Westin or the Sheraton or the whatever in LA? And if you book both of those, and if you get some sort of package where you say, yes, maybe it is non-cancelable, non-refundable, so people don't just book one, get the low price, and cancel the last part.
You just nailed one in your hometown, Ed, of Orlando. There was a courtyard that I had to be responsible for. It was a big courtyard too, 600 rooms, and it was by the main gate. And and we always had this goes back a few years, so we didn't have better data, but we didn't know whether they would go East Coast, West Coast. And of course, the ownership group I had multi-brands, and of course, Marriott never wanted you to share that brand knowledge within the space. So I used a few portal sites to share the awareness that if you stayed at this hotel courtyard, if you go to the West Coast, I can give you these package deals at these other branded hotels. Or if you go to on the East Coast, I have these package deals at these other branded hotels. Yeah. And it was kind of fun because we actually sold some really cool packages for very minimal price impact at the hotels. Because if they were going to go to the West Coast anywhere, or that was their intent of their travel experience, especially Europeans, that they do the Disney World, they do the Universal, they do the whole week to 10 days, but then they take another week to 10 days in some other place in Florida, maybe even more. They have a 3 to 4 week plan when they come to travel.
Yep.
So, giving them a package offer to head to the East Coast compared to the West Coast, to them they saw value proposition. To me, I saw crossover sales, and it committed them to both. Because they bought the package, and I put the booking windows for both of the hotels on the same portal site, so they would book the one, and it wasn't a condition for them to book the next. I couldn't connect the book engines, but I gave them a code to use to go into the next book engine, so they get the discount for the other hotel.
So that's sequential.
And that's why brands hate you.
But that's sequential packaging, which nobody really does, right? I mean, it's a type, because nobody really does
it because you can't do it with the brands. You can't do it with the brands, so that cuts out a huge amount of the industry.
Well, you could, they could.
But they don't want you to.
So some of the brands would want you to stay within the brand and to be able to do it, but again, they just don't. And again, you don't have any vendors who provide that business model, where it's not like an OTA where they're making this massive profit contribution. I mean, to give the hotels the technology to go be able to do it, that's something. I mean, it's not 40% of their business, but boy, that's a really, again, it's all share of wallet and maximizing that customer lifetime.
Well, that also beckons to something else I hear a lot of with hotels. And actually, it's the reason I started Easy Yield. So my first job in travel was for a small mom and pop online travel company based out of Orlando. And they were a commission model. So they charged 10% commission. They took their commission as a deposit. So there was no accounting, so all of that was good. And my job there was to just get more hotels and get better inventory, things like that. And I can't tell you how often that we'd work with a hotel that we were maybe 70 to 100 bookings a month. And it'd be a big hotel and they'd say, yeah, you're just not worth the effort. Even though at the time, we were at 10% versus 33% that they were paying to others. And I would just, I started asking, I'd say, so how many of me do you turn down a day? Versus the 33 percenters. And it's where I became obsessed with it. It's why I started Easy Yield. But I've been in this industry, and the entire time I've been in this industry, I've been talking to hotels, and the number one thing I always hear is that opportunity is not big enough. that opportunity is not big enough. That opportunity is not big enough. And it's in everything. And I look at it and you see the smart hotels, they're the ones who chase the small opportunities, because you get enough small opportunities, the cost savings, the how nimble it makes you, like you're not dependent on anyone. It's really interesting. And so this whole, it's not big enough mentality. It's like, first of all, I've always wanted to ask whenever I'm talking to someone, but I never will, because usually when they're giving that answer to me, I'm trying to sell them something. Is how much is your time worth? Because it doesn't seem like it's worth 100 bookings worth of revenue. Like, where else can you get 100 bookings worth of revenue with a 20-minute a week time commitment or 30-minute a week time commitment? Like, how much are you paid? That it's not worth your time.
It's funny you say that, because for me, I was on a soapbox for such a long time on the deficiencies of displacement analysis, of how it was absolutely skewed incorrectly. And then, of course, brands tried to adopt their centralization strategy and dumb down their sales departments by creating automation that gave them a displacement analysis that was purely based on what you just said, Ed. If it ain't big enough, it ain't worth it. And the math that they were using in the displacement calculations were totally skewed on additional revenues that were unrealistic. And so I went over, and with multi-room hotels where I had chunks of 100+ rooms and stuff, wasn't chasing the same. It was like a strategy. These guys were always a lion's share mentality, and there was so much business in market that wasn't being addressed. And I just went right behind them and just cleaned up and sweeped. And to the point was, I also, in that condition, knowing that I was maybe a medium player compared to even smaller player, I would create a fallback position with my smaller partnerships that I would create with other hotels that said, if I get into a compression point where I want to shed a piece of business, I have a contingency of displacement in place for this that is agreeable to the client already. No surprise features. It's agreeable to the client that if this works, because you're going to get a great rate with me, but if I have to and I have to move you, I already have negotiated and you're still covered.
Yep.
And all day long, I was kicking the larger people's asses because they're sitting around, to your point, waiting for the big dogs. It's like,
I'm waiting for that perfect pitch that I can hit the grand slam. And
it's like, no, if you run
get on base, on base.
Yep. Small ball. Yep. Fun.
Yeah.
Football is won by inches.
Yeah, it is. It is not by yards. You get the yards from
it. Dust. Yes, exactly.
I'm leaving my wife. We're doing, as you know, we're moving.
I'm sorry. Complete that sentence much faster.
Yeah. I'm leaving my wife at a garage sale right now downstairs.
Oh, okay.
And because we're moving, as you both know, to Florida, and we're trying to purge all of the crap that we've accumulated into a 5-bedroom house.
I can't imagine you accumulate a lot of crap. You don't seem like the type of guy to just buy new things. Like, I feel like you put a lot of thought into your purchases. And
I'm not a sporadic, spontaneous, latest, greatest, shiny, nothing.
No, not at all.
I'm surprised you aren't using this format to sell. Hey, I've got this, original Wookiee doll, and it's
well. The funny thing is what really worked out for Lauren on this garage sale was he kept going to these, like, when Sports Authority went out of business, he just went and bought all the shelves. So actually, when you go downstairs right now, it looks like a Best Buy.
Yeah.
It's all the covered electronics that Best Buy.
I got multi-generational everything. Yeah, I got stuff, and of course, I get the geekheads that show up for some of the stuff I have listed, and they're like, man, you have a PS2 splitter converted to DVI. And I'm like, yeah, right here.
Lauren's garage sale looks like a Radio Shack.
Oh, good God. It is a Radio Shack. I still have fiber audio cable. I have 12-foot sections of fiber audio cable for what I have no idea.
Usable for like a week.
And you're
that was only a popular technology for about a week.
Well, that's all right.
I can use that for my Laserdisc player over here.
Yeah.
That's all right. I'll even confess that I have a fiber optic editor clipper that you can cut fiber optic with cleanly and put new recaps on. That's how sick this is. But anyway.
I once had a DivX player.
Ooh.
A DivX player? Wow.
Yeah.
DivX, yeah.
I worked at Circuit City when DivX
yeah.
Yep.
I still have a Voodoo hard drive for when Voodoo first came out, and they had the hard drive plug into the TV.
Yeah.
I still have it down there. It's for $1 if anybody even knows what it is.
Yeah, you get zip drives. I think I still have a few things on a zip drive somewhere.
Yeah. I have that too. I have zip drives and zip drive discs. I actually have Lenovo with zip drive inserts. Wow. Yeah, dude, I got some crap that shouldn't even be out there.
I still have some floppy old floppy disks.
Yeah, you do.
Whoa, whoa!
Hey, I'm working out 3 days a week, and my back is doing better.
Oh, quote of the day: Robert still has some floppy disks.
Still got some floppy disks.
Oh man! Well, you know what?
Anyway.
Next week is our actual 2 anniversary at 104.
I'm such a bad parent to this show, so I missed the 100th episode. I'll be missing the 2-year anniversary.
Oh, that's all right. I love it when you're here, so it does make a difference.
Yeah.
We got a few guest speakers.
Client conflict as well on the 2-year anniversary.
I might be me and hand puppets. I don't know because I think
I may be able to come in.
You really shouldn't call Stuart a hand puppet unless he's here. I mean, that's really not nice, Lauren.
Exactly.
Well, maybe Holly will keep me company too, or two. I don't know who's going to be around next week, but we do have some guest speakers coming. We have Jonathan Stone with Newscred, who is coming on. We also have. Yeah, if he doesn't tear his other knee, I think we'll be okay.
Okay.
We also have Sar from, and you brought him on board.
Say his last name?
Oh, no, I'm not. No, I'm not. I am not even going to try.
Sar from Before Check-In.
And then, before check-in, which I'm really totally stoked because I'm right in the mindset right now. I have a whole crap load of questions I want to ask him. So I'm really looking forward to talking with him. And then Vikram is supposedly joining us. He just picked up a new gig somewhere. And we are chasing Mr. Neil down because he left Fairmount and started his own thing. I want to know what Neil's doing. You brought it up, Ed. I didn't even realize it, that he had changed gigs back in May. I'm like, wow, And
actually what his model is, what he's chasing is really interesting.
See, you know way more than I do about it. I just saw that he changed.
After I gave you crap for not knowing what he's doing, you didn't bother to go look?
I only looked at LinkedIn. I didn't go far. Man. I've been busy with the boxing thing. I'm literally boxes and crap.
I know, it's the cleanest your office has ever looked.
Right. Look. Look.
It's amazing. No, he's focusing revenue practice on non-room revenue opportunities.
Ah, nice.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, so we got to get him back on the show, which I'm sure I'm hoping you'd be interested in. He had a great time last time.
Yeah.
So we got a few guest speakers rolling on pretty much every other week is what we're banking it on. So
I got another guy I got to introduce you to that I found. It's a ex-TravelClick product guy, like early TravelClick, and is trying to start up a business, or he has started it up, that is meant to help hotels understand marketing technology that's available to them.
Wait, should we get him and Robert together? Because that's probably like matter, antimatter. I mean, will the universe survive going that far back in the chronological?
So who's that? Who's the
his name's Tim. He was a head of product for them, like in the early days, like before.
Oh, okay.
Tim Henthorne. Tim
Henthorne. Yeah, I know Tim.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, so I talked to Tim the other day. He started a company called AccuBase, and after hearing what he's attempting to do, it'd be cool if it worked out.
That would be neat. Of course, getting Tim and Robert on the show, we'd just sit back and watch the show. Oh, and the other one is in September. We're still trying to finalize having our first live cast with a HSMAI chapter, and that would be the Hawaiian chapter.
Have we booked that yet?
Well, it's still floating on whether we're trying to nail it onto the same day we do the show or a different day, and whether we can get people on the Americas board because I'll be in DC at the time. We're still got a little logistics things to work out with it, but regardless, we're going to do it. It's just what day does it land on is the question right now.
Do they need to? They're going to fly us out, right?
Yeah, no.
Hey, Ed'll go business class. He doesn't have to have first.
Doesn't have to have first.
I can do. Well, I could fly Mint. I'll fly up to New York to fly Mint.
Yeah, see there. Yeah. Just flight.
Not even business class. It's JetBlue. Mint.
I'm hoping that with their participation, it will kick Phoenix into gear because Phoenix wanted to do it for a while, and I've already talked to Dallas about it. And my next venture is South Florida HSMA. I want to see if I can get them. I think it'll be a lot of fun, especially as we start rolling through some of this budget crap stuff for September, October. If we could get a few
budget crap stuff. Actually, we should do some shows on budgeting.
Yeah, we do. That's what. Yeah. Well, that's yeah. I want to make sure we hit some of the budget stuff, especially in August when people are still giving consideration to choices rather than September when they're just arguing over what monies they want and not really. There's a cycle.
When they're
There's a
cutting
cycle.
all the stuff they were dreaming about and so excited about in August.
their
The cornerstones of their strategy are getting stripped from the plan.
Yeah, pretty much stripped out. I always do go in with 3 budgets: the one I wanted, the one I hope they bought on, and the one I'd end up settling for. But yeah. Well, with that in mind, I mean, if you guys want to continue talking, or do you want to end the show now? We have other topics.
No, because this is the end of my day, anyways. I kept my schedule clear because I'm going on vacation.
And to that, I'm so stoked that you are, because God knows you work enough to do it. But I was always nervous when I make you an admin, because you've cut us off the air twice now.
I know.
I feel weird giving you that power, like
red button.
Oh, click.
It's really poor UI design.
It is.
Because I have just learned over years, you don't exit a window, you exit the application. And so when you go to exit this application, you want to hit the hang up button. And the hang up button doesn't just hang you up, it hangs up everybody.
Yeah, well, I make you an admin.
Have you reached out to Webinar Jam about that problem? Like, hey, guys.
Because what I do is I do it to myself, because you see how early on the show I kick you over to admins.
Yeah.
So that if you lose me, then you can still run the show, because without another admin on the screen, the show ends. So I make everybody an admin, and it just turns out that, you hit the hang up, boom, kills the show. Yeah. But, but Webinar Jam, I
have to be honest, I never noticed, because I'm very certain that anytime I'm not present, nothing else exists. So
it is.
I walk out of a room. I walk out of a room and I'm not even sure that people exist.
Well, it's alternate universes stuff. Parallel
theory of relativity. If you're not there to witness it, it didn't actually happen.
That's right.
That's the best basic you can get. So, but no, it's
just kidding.
But the fun part I just found out about is that Webinar Jam API interfaces with my leads bridge for Facebook ads. So I'm going to build a leads campaign bridge in Facebook to start closing, because I have these custom audiences of all of the board and council members. So I'm developing a lookalike off of that. And I'm going to try to see if I can seed that into a larger audience.
Why don't you shoot me that custom audience?
Just kidding. Hey, so
his budget's
our first sponsor.
Happy to do that. Before you leave, I just want to brag on something really cool, just because I know you would like it specifically. So we use a bunch of different sites and technologies to recruit employees, and one of the things we use is Recruiter Box. I don't know if you guys have heard of it. Recruiter Box reached out to us because they're writing an article on the 10 coolest job descriptions or job ads that they've had on their site, and they're doing our senior engineer one.
Really? Congratulations.
Congrats. That's
top
very
10
cool.
Top 10 best job listings they've ever seen.
Excellent.
Now so it's job listings as opposed to the actual
not the job. No, we'd be on a different list for that.
What is it? Who's in charge of Trip Tease? Alex or somebody?
No.
I forget what his
Charlie.
Charlie.
Yeah, but his job is Chief Tease. I'm like, yeah.
That's just a title, though. That's
Listen, I'm not one to cast stones because I've named my companies horribly. Easy Yield was a word that only Americans could say, but we were an international company, and we didn't yield anything. So I'm not going to cast too many stones at Charlie, but my gosh, the name is just it's got so much negativity in it.
Yeah.
Plus, there's a punk rock band, so when you Google, it's more punk rock band in the results than
So he just spoke at Karen Estes Green.
Cindi
Estes Green.
God, man, you were
sorry.
He's
I got up at 5 in the morning. Other things on his mind. At 5 in the morning. But anyway, she just did a revenue conference in DC, and I had a few clients attending it, and my messenger thing lit up. Because, of course, them dealing with me, I give them a different perspective on how things get presented. And he did a presentation, and Cindi did a presentation, and they're like, I feel like I'm the smartest person in the room because it's such BS coming from stage. And I'm like, oh, no.
Oh, my God.
I'm like, that's not what I taught you. It's like, no, I can see through what they're saying. This attribution modeling, and I'm sitting back, and they're texting me this, and, realizing there's no accuracy to this, and there's no cost effectiveness, but they're writing it down as if it was in stone, and this tracking models are not in play. And so they got this, peek behind the curtains on how some of this stuff actually works, and so they're sitting in the audience going, yeah, that's not exactly how what you're saying it is, and it's not. That's exactly how it happens.
I'm just glad I'm no longer the only person in the room going.
Well, no, Cindy's presentation, at least what got press and Hotel News Now and a variety of other spots, was eliminating comp sets, right?
Yes.
That comp sets are dead, which again is something that just to take a shot at STR, because that's what STR is, foundational sort of.
Comp sets are usually wrong and they're situational, but they're not dead.
Right. And STR was very clear about it. That it's something like 60%. If you look at a hotel's comp set overall, like, you would think all the other hotels in that comp set would have that hotel be, it'd be reciprocal sort of.
If it was right.
If it was right, but it's not. It was like 60% difference in it. Mm-hmm. So they aren't.
Well, and different hotels swing in and out of your comp set based on their pricing strategy.
It's just season. Their pricing strategy seasonally, day of week, persona, right, of the traveler.
And by the way, your comp set's not just the hotels in your market.
Oh, good God!
You're competing with hotels on any destination that your traveler is considering going to.
Oh,
yeah. I call them symbiotic markets. I talk about this. Like, look, when I had the Key West market to worry about, I was fighting Aspen all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because
that's
the people that were going that market,
absolutely
isolated DMA, and we're going to go snow skiing or snorkeling.
Well, so and you're fighting in the valley because the people are, they go to a beach one year and they go skiing the other, and in many cases you aren't going to get them because you're in the off year.
Right.
Right. So
and to your point, Ed, the seasonality shift of comp sets is pronounced, because when I do market plans for clients now, it's not about static. This is your monthly breakdown on certain channels. This channel dies because it's not getting to the target market that your business cycle is in at that time of year. That's why you're seeing shifts and fluxes as to where your monies are going, because different channels are used for different things for different people. We're following your demographic profile based on business cycle.
And rate compression kills you when that 4-star hotel decides to go to the 2.5-star price point. Those guys.
No, my favorite is when the Hilton Cocoa Beach went offline for renovation. Like, as a proof of concept of, like, your entire market's tied, and it's also tied to other markets. So when Hilton Cocoa Beach went offline, they're the top of the market. All of a sudden, all the hotels moved up $90 to $100 a night in lockstep of what they could do in the market. So you had a Days Inn was it the Days Inn or the Comfort Inn Cocoa Beach was at $225 a night.
Wow.
That's funny.
And they were selling like hotcakes. And then the Hilton Cocoa opened back up, $175 a night room. Magically, the Comfort Inn Cocoa drops down below 90. But then you also look at the effect that the Hilton Inn Cocoa going offline had to New Smyrna Beach, to Daytona, like all the other markets that you could decide to go to and have the same exact experience. I mean, so you have to be looking beyond your neighborhood comp set. You need to understand the complexity of the decision that it takes to go to you. Like, my favorite time to go to Boca is this time of year.
Right.
Why? Because it's 10 degrees cooler than Orlando, so it's not too hot, but it's too hot for almost everyone else, and they're basically empty.
Yeah.
Like, you can go stay at the Breakers right now for $400 a night, all inclusive. Like, so that includes golf, that includes breakfast for every person in your party. Like, that same room and rate plan, like, in 2 months will be over $2,000 a night.
Sure. Yeah. Sure. It's funny you bring up Coco Hilton, because I used to, back in my GM days, have the Melbourne Hilton Airport.
Okay.
And I actually, and this is back late 90s stuff. I actually advertised the Coco Hilton because they were so much more expensive than me, that I actually helped within the brand system promote and cross-sell the Coco Hilton, because I looked so much better and a rate strategy. And when I did do my in-house marketing for them, which was a little bit more traditional back then, was all about the accessibility without the price cost associated with it. Because I could get them to the beach. I made my shuttle buses bring people back and forth to the beaches because it was 10 miles out. It was my airport shuttle buses.
Yeah.
But I was like, you don't have to worry about nothing. And we made little beach kits for them and everything else. And so I was showing them that being $100+ more per night, but they didn't have to mess with it, and they got a nicer hotel. And I actually spent money on advertising them. So yeah,
straight across the causeway to a satellite beach, which was less crowded, much nicer.
Yeah,
it was easy to do. Yeah, but all right. Anyway,
I got married in Indy Atlantic down there.
Oh, did you really?
Well, my wife is from Satellite Beach. That's where she.
Oh, okay.
Yep, so
look at that.
Know the area well.
All right. So for those who want to chase down Mr. Robert Cole, sir, where can they find you?
Well, of course, timpeter.com.
Oh, you took mine. Come on. As soon as he started, I was thinking timpeter.com.
/ Robert K. Cole.
So Robert K. Cole on all the social media channels and rockcheetah.com.
Excellent. And Mr. Ed, where may people find you, sir?
Socially, Edward St.Onge. And if you want to know what I care about, go to flip.to.
Awesome site. And for those who were with us today, Mr. Stuart Butler from Fuel Travel, who is, I think, tied up with clients. Mr. Tim, Tim Peter is vacationing. And then Holly is also vacationing. Holly's over.
Universal Studios today, I believe.
Is he?
Doing himself. Next week is episode 104. This week is 103. Any of the shows, all 103 of them, can be found at hospitalitydigitalmarketing.com/live. And with that, which is, we're coming up on 2 hours. Funny how we try to end it at an hour and a half, but it still makes it to 2 hours. But thank you, gentlemen, so very much for the time.
Good luck with your move, sir.
Thank you. It's going to be a fun week of purchasing.
This week? Like this
No. We still we get the truck a week on the 9th. We get the truck, but we got a week of getting rid of crap and stuff. And we're going to have another garage sale tomorrow and next weekend and all happy stuff. Because it's only 110 degrees here, so it's comfy. It's all warm and toasty happy, so we're all good.
Well, and you did well from a talk about yielding truck prices. The end of the month, mid-month is the way to do that. So very, very well.
It's amazing how the price goes down in the middle of the month. Yeah. But so we'll be doing the Beverly Hillbillies ride down to Florida about mid-month. But get office space, so you guys have to come down and visit.
Once you're
settled, I told you I'm going to come up and visiting you anyway, probably within the month and a half from there first. Yeah. So. But thanks to everyone. Thanks for everyone that's on the show. Catch us on Facebook Live, YouTube Live, and Periscope Live. We did get it pushed out for all of those while we're doing this. So, gentlemen, thank you all much again.
Thank you.
And,
have a great weekend.
Next week, but we'll try to see what happens the week after. So,
all right. Be there for 15 minutes.
Bye.